Adolf Hitler is considered one of the worst figures in history. His shadow extends beyond World War II, unexpectedly affecting the lives of his descendants. Today, we delve into the mysterious stories of individuals connected to this stained legacy by blood, revealing the fate of Hitler's lineage in the modern world and uncovering hidden chapters of history. Hitler's nephew. The story of William Patrick Hitler tells of a complex and challenging life lived in the shadow of his infamous uncle, Adolf Hitler. He was born in 1911 in Liverpool, England. His father was Alois Hitler, Adolf Hitler's brother, and his mother was Irish Bridget Dowling. Although William's life seemed distant from Germany's political turmoil, his uncle's rise to power dramatically changed his life. Driven by curiosity and opportunity, he moved to Germany in the early 1930s. Initially trying to benefit from his family connection, William asked his uncle for a job. He first worked at a bank, then at an automotive company. When he requested higher positions, Adolf Hitler told him he had to renounce his British citizenship. William tried to blackmail his uncle by threatening to expose family secrets. These secrets included details such as poverty, mental illness, and incest. As war tensions escalated in Europe, William returned to England. Here, he wrote an article titled "Why I Hate My Uncle," criticizing his uncle's regime. In the article, he strongly condemned his uncle. This declared him a traitor in the eyes of the Nazi regime and severed his ties with his family in Germany. William Patrick Hitler, sensing the approach of World War II, went to the USA. Here, he started writing a book that fiercely criticized his uncle, Adolf Hitler. During this process, it is said that he received an invitation letter from U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt. But according to some sources, this letter was actually written by Patrick Hitler himself. In his book, he also strongly condemned his uncle. When World War II began, he used his position as Hitler's nephew to conduct interviews, write articles, and organize conferences criticizing his uncle's regime. These activities gained him significant attention in the USA. During the war, he actively served by joining the American Navy. This decision was a rebellion against his family's history and a stance against Adolf Hitler's ideology and actions. As a result, Hitler's nephew fought against the Nazis. After the war, William changed his surname to Stuart Houston and led a quiet life in New York. He had 4 sons and preferred a life away from the shadow of his past. His open opposition to his uncle and his service in the U.S. Navy were his first brave steps toward establishing a separate identity from the shadow of Adolf Hitler. William's story is not just about being the nephew of a dictator. It's also a story of the search for personal identity and rebellion under the weight of history. Adolf Hitler's family tree reveals the complex lives of individuals struggling under the burden of being associated with one of history's most hated figures. William Patrick Hitler, as part of this tree, experienced the struggle to find his own identity and path in the shadow of history. Hitler's siblings. Born in Austria-Hungary in 1882, Alois Hitler had a contentious relationship with his father, Alois Sr., and left home at a young age. He moved to Ireland and married Bridget Dowling. Dublin-born Bridget Dowling met Alois Hitler Jr. in 1909 when she wasn't even 20 years old. Bridget met Alois, who was working as a waiter at the Shelbourne Hotel in Dublin, while traveling with her father. Alois had left his country and come to Ireland, fleeing from his father, with whom he had disagreements. The 2 young people moved to London and got married. Their son, William Patrick Hitler, was born in 1911. Bridget's diary claims that Adolf Hitler visited England and evaded compulsory military service in Austria. However, this claim is disputed among historians, and there are documents showing that Hitler was in Germany at that time. Ironically, Bridget and Alois's house in Liverpool was destroyed by German bombing during World War II. Alois returned to Germany in 1914, but Bridget did not go with him. Their relationship had deteriorated, and according to rumors, Alois abandoned his wife and son. Alois Jr.'s life was overshadowed by allegations of fraud, and he was sentenced to prison. He later moved to Germany and started running a restaurant in Berlin. His connection with Adolf Hitler was distant and strained. After the war, Alois remarried Bridget with promises. However, their relationship deteriorated again when Bridget learned that Alois was married to another woman. Their son, Patrick, visited his father in Germany at the age of 18 and met his uncle, Adolf Hitler, who was rising to power at the time. After returning to England, disturbed by his kinship with Adolf Hitler, he immigrated to the USA with Bridget in 1939. The mother and son settled in Long Island and changed their surname to Stuart Houston. Patrick gave lectures all over the USA about his evil uncle, while Bridget wrote her memoirs titled My Brother-in-Law, Adolf. With the USA entering the war in 1941, Patrick joined the army to fight against his uncle and served as a medic. After the war, he established a technical laboratory in New York. He built a large house on a vast property with his wife, Phyllis. Bridget died in 1969 at the age of 78 and was buried in a cemetery in New York. Patrick passed away suddenly in 1987 and was buried next to his mother. Adolf's half-sister, Angela, had a closer relationship with her famous brother. Born in 1883, Angela was the only sibling Adolf publicly acknowledged. Angela Hitler got engaged to tax inspector Leo Raubal on September 14, 1903, and they married in 1910. The couple had 3 children, Leo, Gailey, and Elfriede. Leo Raubal passed away in 1917, on their 7th wedding anniversary. After World War I, Angela moved to Vienna and became the manager of a boarding school for Jewish students. During this time, she protected young people from anti-Semitic riots. Angela and her half-brother, Adolf Hitler, did not communicate for about 10 years. However, this changed when Adolf reached out to her in 1919. Angela visited Adolf in Landsberg prison in 1924. Angela, along with her daughters Gailey and Elfriede, moved to Haus Wachenfeld in Obersalzberg near Berchtesgaden. Angela initially worked as a cleaner and later took on the full responsibility of the house. Her daughter Gailey started living with Adolf Hitler in his apartment in Munich in 1929. After Hitler became the leader of the Nazi Party, he began to control almost every aspect of Gailey's life. He ended Gailey's relationship with her chauffeur, Emil Maurice. Gailey wanted to return to Vienna, but Hitler did not allow it, and she committed suicide on September 18, 1931. After Gailey's death, Angela continued to work for Hitler. However, due to disagreements with Hitler's mistress and later wife, Eva Braun, she moved to Dresden. In 1936, Angela married architect Martin Hammitsch. They had no children from this marriage. Hitler did not approve of Angela's marriage, and their relationship became strained. In 1941, Angela's memoirs about Hitler were published for 20,000 Reichsmarks. In 1945, after the bombing of Dresden, Hitler ordered Angela to move to Berchtesgaden and provided her with financial support. In his will, Hitler left Angela a monthly allowance of 1,000 Reichsmarks, but it is unknown whether this money was ever received. After World War II, Angela's second husband committed suicide. Angela also passed away on October 30th, 1949, in Hanover, due to a stroke. Adolf Hitler's other sibling and the youngest of the family, Paula Hitler, led a life overshadowed by her brother's infamy. Due to the age difference, she didn't play much with Adolf as a child, and it's known that Adolf was harsh towards her. After their mother's death in 1907, Paula took care of her siblings. She lost contact with Adolf during World War I, but reunited with him in the 1920s. Towards the end of the war, it's known that Paula was engaged to Erwin Jekelius. Jekelius was a person who killed many people in Austria. Paula worked as a secretary in a military hospital during World War II. After World War II, Paula Hitler was interrogated by American intelligence. However, no charges were filed. To conceal her connection with Adolf Hitler, she used the pseudonym Paula Wolf. In 1959, she gave an interview to British documentary filmmaker Peter Morley. In this interview, she talked about Adolf's childhood. Paula mentioned that Adolf was friendly and had leadership qualities. This was Paula's only interview. Paula, who never married or had children, lived in secrecy and passed away in 1960. In August 2005, historians announced that they had found Paula's diary. In the diary, she wrote about her childhood and Adolf's abuse. Paula was the only sibling of Adolf Hitler who lived until his adulthood. Each member of the family dealt with their relationship with Adolf Hitler in their own way. Some tried to benefit from it, others tried to distance themselves, and some were entangled in this tragic and dark web. Descendants. Alexander, Brian, and Louis are the sons of William Patrick Hitler and the last known living grandsons of Adolf Hitler. Living a life away from their great-uncle's dark legacy, these descendants strive to distance themselves from the infamous family name and lead ordinary, honorable lives. Alexander, the eldest son of William Patrick, was born after World War II. At that time, the Hitler surname caused great hatred. Understanding the weight of this legacy, Alexander dedicated his life from an early age to distancing himself from his great-uncle's shadow. He pursued a career in social services, devoting himself to helping others. This stood in stark contrast to Adolf Hitler's destructive path. The second son, Brian, chose a different but equally noble path. He pursued a career in medicine and became a psychotherapist. His career choice speaks volumes about his values and desire to contribute positively to society. As a psychotherapist, Brian guided and supported many individuals through mental and emotional challenges, offering support and understanding. This profession, based on the healing and understanding of the human mind, presented a poignant contrast to the Hitler family's history of mental illness and extremism. The youngest brother, Louis, opted for a more private lifestyle and turned to landscape gardening. He practiced this profession, nurturing and enhancing the natural environment, quietly and away from the public eye. Louis' gardening career symbolized growth and life. It also offered a powerful counterpoint to the destruction associated with the Hitler surname. Although the brothers followed different paths, they shared a deep sense of responsibility towards their surname and a desire to redefine it. They chose professions that made positive contributions to society. These choices might be an attempt to atone for their great-uncle's sins or to demonstrate that lineage does not determine a person's character or destiny. Alexander, Brian, and Louis led lives away from the fame and notoriety associated with their family name. The topic of family and legacy is a complex one for them. The legacy created by the Hitler surname has had profound psychological and social effects on those descended from Adolf Hitler. It has influenced their identities, society's perceptions of them, and the personal choices they've made to distance themselves from their infamous ancestor. Being related to Adolf Hitler carries complex and multifaceted psychological implications for descendants who have to grapple with a family history associated with genocide and global destruction. This means carrying a heavy psychological burden and raises profound questions about identity, morality, and legacy. Many descendants have had to strike a balance between acknowledging their family tree and not allowing it to completely define their existence. This often requires deep introspection and an effort to forge a distinct identity separate from their ancestors' shadow. The public perception of the Hitler surname often leads society to adopt a harsh and unforgiving attitude towards it. This disregards individuals' own identities and judges them solely based on their ancestors' actions. Societal judgments can manifest in various forms, from overt discrimination to morbid curiosity and unwanted attention. This situation can push many descendants towards leading secretive and private lives. Revealing their true identities can have serious social consequences. The fear of judgment and condemnation based on lineage compels many to change their names and live away from the public eye. As a result, Adolf Hitler's descendants have decided not to have children. This decision is interpreted as the end of the Hitler lineage. Their decision can be seen as a desire not to pass on a legacy, or as a personal choice independent of their ancestors. These individuals are aware of their historical burden and want to prevent this burden from casting a shadow on future generations. Their attitude towards their ancestors is a mix of silent acceptance and conscious distancing. They do not deny their family tree, but they also do not allow it to define them. In their rare interviews and interactions with the media, they express their desire to be judged by their own actions and achievements, not by their great-uncles. What do you think about this decision? Don't forget to share with us. See you soon.